My show, What's Happening, man. What's happening? What's happening? Yes! What's Happening is the comedy about 3 kids in South Central who just goes to the soda shop every day. And that's it. You know what I'm saying? It goes surrounded by Raj. Raj has got a sister D and his mom is a maid and his daddy wasn't there. And that was the show. Nothing crazy. There was never like the pregnancy episode or the cocaine episode. It was never none of that shit on this show. It was just like to take you away from all the bullshit, and I loved it. The show was inspired by my favorite movies ever, Cooley High. They tried to make a Cooley High series, and my man Ernest Thomas was in it, the one that plays Raj. And it was like serious. So like, nah, we gotta lighten this up. So they flew it to Hollywood. They started shooting it there, and that's the show you got. Favorite characters was actually all of them. The ensemble was dope to me. I thought it fit. Everybody had their thing that they did, and it worked. So the characters are Raj by Ernest Thomas. You got Danielle Spencer. You got Shirley, played by Shirley Hemphill. You got my man Dwayne, Haywood Nelson. Miss Thomas, Mabel King, and you got my man Rerun, Fred Rerun Berry. He changed his name to Rerun. When I was in LA, he had a Rerun acting school. I'm like, hey man, yeah, really? Like, yeah. Never mind. The acting wasn't 100%, wasn't nobody getting no Emmys, none of that shit, but it was a fun show. It was a fun show. D, probably one of my favorite child actors ever. She was a little too smart. Like, yeah, this gotta be TV, because they would knock the hell out of her, some of the stuff she was saying. Favorite episodes, I say the first, I bought the box set when I was in LA, when they started doing that. And I say the first 12 episodes are classics. You can watch the first 12 and it's hilarious. Like, it's funny. Minute 1 to minute 22, 23, whatever, it is funny. The theme song was the boom. There wasn't no words to it. It could have been a corny ass theme song. What's happening? What's happening? It could have been some bullshit, but no, it was like boom, boom. I don't know what the fuck that was. My old roommate hated that song. You know why? Because I told you I had the box set. Before I moved back to Chicago, he ain't had cable, so I had to play my DVDs. I'll fall asleep with it on, and they would loop the theme song the entire time I was asleep. He's like, man, would you cut that shit off? One of my favorite ones are Rerun and the Rockets. Rerun's dancing was top notch, dog. They call him the Penguin in the locker. Dwayne's dilemma when he had to fight the dude. What's the other one? Shit. Then the convict was in the house. Damn, no Roger, no Rerun, no rent, that shit. Oh man, it's people laugh at me that I like the show so much. I'm gonna say this though, the worst thing about the show to me, when the mom left, moved Shirley in the house, and I'm like, I ain't understand that. So like, who's paying the bills? But you know, that's TV magic. The other thing was the Big Earl and Little Earl, season 3. I'm like, I understand why, because I'm in show business, I understand why they did it. Earl Barnett was the detective who lived upstairs with his son. They were white, and they're in South Central, hanging out with them on a regular. And I'm like, I know California is like mixed out, but they about Watts. And I'm like, oh, I ain't never seen that, you know? But it's TV, so I'm like, okay, you're making it work. If Lil Earl was good, that kid, he might be a grown-ass man now. I don't know what he might own Hollywood, of all I know. And I saw the unsung of the show, and character D, she said she hated him. I couldn't stand this kid. This kid had a crush on her throughout the whole thing, and she's like, I hated working with that kid. And so she felt the way I did about the show. So hey, overall, man, it might not be number 1 on my list, but I'll say probably one of the shows that I just watch. It might not, I don't take it serious. I don't take the time out like, yo, man, hey, hold on, this is the episode of they find these birth control pills. None of that shit. It was nothing like that. The show was never taken serious. It was just fun and got you away from everything. And it was, to that point, it was so good. That's why they did the spinoff. They did a spinoff. They had 3 years of the first one and 3 years of the second one. And I'm be honest with y'all, the lady that played Roger's wife, Anne-Marie Johnson, I had the hugest crush on her. I see her in LA at the SAG office, and I froze. I froze up. I was like, damn, that's Anne-Marie Johnson. Tall, I like tall chicks. Martin Lawrence was on that show. And one of my favorite episodes on that is the LA Dream Team. LA Dream Team? The LA, man, yes, they're here. Dream Team is here. Man, I flipped out. That song And them rapping before they came on stage is comedy. I remember laughing on the ground about this shit, man. That show gets no props, man. So I'm giving it the props, man. So remember the classics. What's happening? And rest in peace to Fred Berry, Shirley Hemphill, Mabel King. Thank you guys for the laugh. Next segment.